discussion titled Multichain Approach, the Future of Blockchain Industry. In a world where innovation knows no bounds, the concept of multichain offers the potential to address scalability, interoperability, and diverse use cases that are shaping the future of our industry. This discussion brings together a panel of experts whose collective wisdom will guide us through the different sides of this new and growing ways of doing things. I invite you all to engage, question, and explore the different facets of the multi-chain approach as we collectively shape the future of the blockchain industry. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Pranshu Rastogi, Head of Ecosystem and Growth at Push Protocol, Sankal Pandey, Head of Growth and Partnerships at Solidity Scan, Rick Chaudhary, Head of BD and Sales at Bioeconomy, and last but not the least, Ajit Kurana, Founder at Radical, Reflexical. Please put your hands together for our lovely panel on stage.
So, you begin a meal with like salad and soup, then you have like starter, main course, then you have dessert. Now, when you have progressed to dessert, uske baad kya? As in, how can you beat that? These three guys are going to do that, okay? And if they don't, then you can beat them, as in, ek hi baat hai. So, what we're doing is we're talking about the multi-chain approach. Now, just as a little bit of a background, you guys seem young enough to have used the internet since the time you remember, as in, since your childhood, you have been using it. People did come to you and ask you, which internet do you use? Right? As in, piche kuch TCP IP ho raha hai, if you are a little bit technically oriented. Or it's just like, everybody is like, give me net connection. People don't ask, kaun sa wala, Ethereum wala, Solana wala, Polygon wala, kaun sa wala net chahiye, right? But somehow, because when the blockchain era started, the first and only blockchain was the Bitcoin blockchain, which is not a corporation, which never sold its tokens, which did not have, as in eventually had a core team, which did not have a foundation. So Bitcoin was a powerful baby which had no parents. Then Ethereum and a whole host of other came where they tried to push their network, and they found that life would be better if we kind of had our own little corner. Of course, an EVM compatible chain started coming. So this is the life we lead. Every one of you who has used crypto or a Web3 product has used at least two chains, right? As in, if we consider each EVM chain also has a different chain. So let's see, anybody uses like more than 10 chains, 10 different chains? Good. I was about to say we only have normal people in this room, then 3 people raise their hand. Anyway, superhuman beings also, okay. Anybody believes that see, 0 is okay, if you're not using any chain, that's fine. Anybody uses only one chain? I don't do anything beyond one chain. No, so we know that this is a between 1 and 10 number, right? So now what we want is that these multiple chains are causing us a problem. I'm going to begin with a very simple question before narrowing down to multi-chain. There is a disagreement in the world of whether the blockchain future is multi-chain, which is the topic, that is multi-chain approach the future of blockchain industry, or whether it is cross-chain. So cross-chain means you will be all constantly transacting across chains, as in even one transaction may go across multiple chains, or multiple chains which may probably through bridging or other technology be able to become compatible or workable together. So I'm just going to begin with that, starting from you, Pranshu. So you better be sitting in this order, because according to me these are your names. So if you're not sitting in this order, you are renamed today, okay? So Pranshu, I'm going to begin with you and come here and very quickly, if the future is only one of these, which is not going to be the case, it has to be both. If the future is only one of these, is the future multiple chain, that is multiple chains largely working independently except in touch points, or is the future cross chain where we will forever be jumping across chains without even necessarily realizing it? Pranshu.
I guess I believe that cross chain is something that will be like a future, but I still believe even though the cross chain, the number of quantity of chains cannot be 1,000 or something, because when you say when we are talking about internet, nobody asks hey, which internet we are using, this or that. But if something doesn't work, we always complain, right?
Nice, but before I come to you, because you raised a very important point, that we will not have so many chains.
Yeah.
So let us say whatever is the number of chains now, we'll just randomly call it 50.
Okay.
Because major, minor chain, etc. What is the number? So 5 years from now, how many chains? Is it more than 50, less than 50? Less than 50. So how many chains are required to have a vibrant blockchain industry?
I think like if one thing works perfectly, I don't think it requires more than one.
Yes.
Because the idea is to solve the problem, not to much more focus on
Correct.
taking a lot of
Some of you have connected with me on Telegram and sent me a message. How much gas fees did you pay to send me the Telegram message? So nothing is working properly. Okay, so this thing, one thing will work properly, both do it. Right? As in I have accidentally
But they are
paid
paying the
$500.
internet charges.
Correct. But that is negligible. So let us assume that the current development of ecosystem is where we are, but we don't need 50 chains. How many chains do we need? Like with 5 chains do?
Yeah, I guess less than 5 even works.
This is like a negotiation, okay? Kitna chain chahiye kaise? But thanks, Pranshu. Sankalp, he says future is cross chain, between cross and multi. What do you think?
Multi.
Multi.
Yeah, because see, I come from a security mindset, right? And let's say if there's any project whose presence is widely distributed across the chains, I guess multi, makes a lot of sense because let's say, we know, right? Because some of the projects on some chains got rugged as well, and if their presence on some other chain, they probably might have secured some of their funds over there. So multi is my vote.
Nice. And Rick, who is present here today in the official Biconomy uniform. Yeah, so Rick, multi-chain or cross-chain?
I don't like this question.
Kya baat hai? Not just a uniform. Even the attitude is like, kya re bhaiya? Okay, go ahead.
But see, the thing is, I think one thing important to remember from a security standpoint is cross-chain assets have a lot of risk. Because if a bridge gets hacked, and we've seen many bridges get hacked, then cross-chain assets are the ones that are going to suffer, not necessarily cross-chain protocols, like any protocol that is, let's say, sending call data from one chain to another. As long as you can communicate cross-chain, that's fine. But if you're maintaining assets cross-chain, then you better be very secure and safe in how you're doing it. So that way it's like a mixture of both, I would say.
Perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you questions, and you can pick it up based on whichever topic you have wanted to talk about. It probably means, Rick, I'm going to come back to you only now. So we have been hearing, what is it, ERC 4337? Or did I get the 4 digits wrong?
That's correct.
So
That's
account
correct.
abstraction. I remember 2014 when I came to Bitcoin very late. 2014 I started studying it. September 2016 I bought my first 1000 rupee worth of Bitcoin. Price was around 40,000 rupees at that point. But the biggest headache used to be that you have to set up Electrum, you have to have your own laptop, and you could not make Electrum work. And it will always give you some error, then you have to call 5 friends who will say, this happened to me also, blah, blah, blah. So what I'm getting at is that account abstraction seems like the other extreme. So very, very simply, Desi Bhasha, kind of don't get into the technology of it, but tell all of them what is account abstraction and why it is such a big deal.
So the simplest way to kind of visualize the effects of account abstraction is that you can deliver a Web2-like user experience while still being fully non-custodial and on-chain transparent, all the benefits that come with blockchain, right? You have that, but it's Web2-like. There is no seed phrases, you don't need to know what gas is, forget how much gas you need to pay, right? You don't need to know about any technical things like what chain I am on, and that's a part of, I think, what the future, this multi-chain future is going to look like, because with tools like account abstraction, you can make the chain itself hidden, and give an experience to the user that they really don't know or care about what it is that they're using. Just the consumer application is what matters.
I want to continue this question with you, Pranshu, but before that, so what you're saying in effect is that, I use several Web2 apps, I use Paytm, I use a bunch of them, and they might have variety of architecture behind. They may be on the cloud, they may be distributed, I might be talking to a mirror site without knowing it, etc. Mera problem nahi hai, as in that is like the problem of what's happening in the back. That's account abstraction. So coming to you, Pranshu, on the same topic, he said you don't need to know what is your private key, you don't need to know the seed phrase, but the private key is still there. Yeah. The seed phrases can be generated based on that, right? So does the security that a person experiences, whoever wants to talk about it, increase in an account abstracted situation, or are you doing better user experience at the cost of security?
Got it. So, like one thing before I answer this, we have to understand that Ethereum supports EOA and the smart contract wallets. One thing is previously we are often using, right, like the MetaMask pop-up, sign-in, and everything. SCW or the smart contract wallets account abstractions gives you the power to customize anything, right? So now it's in the hands of course, developer or someone. If they are doing in the right way, or like there is no vulnerability in that specific contract, then it does not cause any issue. But on the other hand, for example, a lot of time people say is Ethereum is not secure, that got hacked. But it's not Ethereum, it's the smart contracts on Ethereum, right? I think that's the same thing happening with this smart contract.
Yeah, I did not kill the person. My finger killed the person because it pressed the button. Ethereum did not get the smart contract.
Yeah.
Smart contract with Ethereum के ही है.
It's the bullet वो automatic चला गया,
आपने
मार दिया और क्या.
Yeah, so coming to you, Sankalp. Sankalp Pandey, seriously, is like a Salman Khan name.
अरे
किसी तो movie में उसका नाम Sankalp Pandey हुआ होगा. But tell me this, since you're coming from a security background,
Yes.
a uni-chain world. So we are all using one. I would love it to be Bitcoin, but lot of limitations of maybe Ethereum. Compared to a multi-chain world, what are the extra security concerns that come up in a multi-chain world?
So, as we all know, right? I mean, whenever a project go live on chain, it has to get audited, and that is like everyone knows. Like every person in Web3 knows that audit is something that is required for even for the exchanges to get listed on their particular platform. But additionally, I guess there are certain layer-centric narratives that should be put in on the projects. For example, what exactly we are doing here right now from our Scan standpoint. Apart from the developer tool, we kind of deploying over the some projects where the smart contract movement is happening, and that is something which is still untapped in the whole Web3 space. This particular use case is, since we kind of cater EVMs, EVM agnostic, we are kind of in a position to hit each and every EVM and sitting on top of the Explorer, showing a few certain things, for example, rug pull score, security score. So for example, if there's anyone from the crowd who willing to trade that particular token, even before that he choose to think over it, he probably or she probably can check the security aspects as well. As of now, still untapped, and this is something which we are trying to solve. So yeah, in this multi-chain perspective, EVM where we are catering, this is something which I have a strong opinion on this. So yeah.
Nice. So some of you may have heard of a term called the blockchain trilemma. You know what I'm talking about? So what are the three legs of the trilemma?
Security, scalability, and decentralization.
Security, scalability, and decentralization. Right? Now, if that is at the blockchain level, at the app level also you have security, you have speed, which probably is the equivalent of security, and decentralization there's no real role at the app level, as in, of course architecture is this way. So tell these guys examples of some of the app level sacrifices you have been seeing made, because for the security purpose, maybe I think there should be a fourth line, so it should be a quadrilemma, which is user experience. As in, I've always complained that blockchain products are clunky. So block naam dal diya, they're like, almost you're dealing with blocks. And this is after great products have been built in Web2. So there is a reason for that. It is not just that the blockchain developer is lazier than the earlier developer, right? So they are compromising. So in this multi-chain world, what are the compromises people have been making which has caused user experience to be low, and what is the solution? Anybody can choose to answer.
That's a great question actually.
Thank you, yaar. Last time se bola the question अच्छा नहीं है. Thanks, yaar. I've been waiting.
Doing a great job, Ajay.
Because we do see a lot of this. A lot of projects kind of go, and there is actually a decentralization angle even at the app layer, and a lot of projects compromise on that to increase their improve their UX. So rather than seeing compromises on like security or scalability, because from a dApp standpoint, if you are not fast, then you're not gonna win anyway. So speed is always top of the mind for them, and security as well. Like long term, you have to be secure, right? And I wouldn't say like a lot of security-based compromises are made, but definitely a lot of decentralization sort of compromises are made, where people are fine taking custody of user keys or things like that just to give improved UX. And kind of this is again where account abstraction can come in and allow them to do this in a more decentralized sort of manner.
You have said everything right, but I'll just tell you this, that speed at the app level I think is immaterial, because most of the latency is caused at the blockchain level. So suppose I double the speed of my app, the user will not perceive the speed of concluding the transaction. Of course, decentralization decisions are made at the app level. You know, how centralized or so. Obviously, I didn't mean that there's no dimension of that. All I was saying is that if you're building on a chain which has negligible decentralization, then whatever amount of decentralization you will do, you're setting. It's like a server which is compromised, and then you're setting for, you know, your shared hosting on that. So my question still is more about user experience, because what is happening is, I don't know if you guys know this, the last month of the previous bull market, so let's call it March 22. Maybe it can be debated whether it was 1 month here or 1 month there. But let's say March 22 numbers, Facebook's DAUs, daily active users, I don't know whether I'm talking about DAUs or MAUs, because old, right? And you want to forget your previous successful relationship, because now you're in a toxic relationship with the bear market. So the number of the daily active users or the monthly active users of Facebook at that point of time was 2.3 billion. 2.3 billion. And all Web3 dApps put together in the bull market, all Web3 dApps across all chains put together were around 2.1 million, which means 1,000 times less. There are various reasons for this. This is a new industry, that's an old app, blah, blah, that's fine. But I am convinced that one of the reasons is that they are not fun to use, as in games are not fun to play. DeFi, you're doing it because you got an opportunity. So what is causing this? And is, you know, multi-chain approach or a cross-chain approach or any of the account abstraction, is that going to solve the experience issue?
Yeah. So I have like a few points to add over here, like, you know, even narrating the fact, or like, you know, as a developer, when we design all those things, we often forget that, you know, all these 1 million devs for, like, you know, who is basically designing this dApp or application, forget that we have to onboard 1 billion users that don't know the tag. They don't want to do like all those 10 interaction. For example, like, I guess like for the first time, if you have used MetaMask, right? Do you know like what was the seed phrase? Then of course, like, you know, copy the seed phrase to 3 different places, sign the transaction.
Tell all your friends, share on social media.
Yeah. No. So basically the thing is, when we designing the app or when we are solving the problem, we often forget that these are designed for users, not for the developers. That's one of the thing. And with multi-chain, it becomes like much more complex, because 2 chain or like more than 2 chains may have a different you know, wallet compatibility. They don't even exist together. So now as a native users, or like, you know, I don't want to know like, okay, this is EVM compatible, I have to sign the transaction, or, you know, I just have to pay the gas fee in Ether or Solana or XYZ token, right? So I guess that's the one biggest issue. For example, like account abstraction kind of solves that. Like if you encapsulate or abstract all those things in terms of wallet compatibility, it kind of resolves. But that is not the only thing. You know, there is a communication layer also. For example, when we talk about the multi-chain, let's say like I have a tokens on Ethereum and I need to bridge on X chain. Then if both the chains are not compatible, then there is no way, like, you know, they are knowing, okay, I have the assets over there, I have assets over there. Either if I'm locking my assets on the A chain, then I have to communicate that to the B chain to maybe wrap those, you know, assets and lock till the time it's not been delivered to the users or something like that.
So I have one question which I'll extend this and then you can probably respond to both. So, you know, we all went to school. Our school was a little short of what they wanted to do, so we went to some tuition class, which really would not have been required if the school was good enough. Then the tuition class did not, in the science subjects, have ability to teach us, give us practicals, so we went to yet another place where we took practical coaching. And of course, PT, PE is never, physical training, physical education is never used in tuition, so we went and joined something else for that, right? If the school had done the good job, which means if the chain had done a good job, then yes, scaling solution, L2, all of that would probably potentially not be required. Is this a bug or is this a feature? Namely, Is this how it is supposed to be, that you do a layered architecture or a building blocks architecture, or is it that we started with an unprepared concept called an L1 and now we have to do things like, oh my god, this just doesn't work, so let us go and do something else? This will help us come up with a multi-chain future. Anybody who wants to respond to this?
So, I mean, the school analogy, right? I mean, it's not always the school's problem, right? It's the user's problem as well. Yeah, even if you go to Ambani school, if someone doesn't want to study, you cannot help. Yeah, even the tuition teacher भी help नहीं कर पाएगा कि उसको पढ़ना है कि नहीं. But then, and on the other hand, you see that there are a lot of small schools are giving some good results. Now coming to the chains, that even if a chain is good but the project is not good, chain's not problem, right? Even I mean at the time of the bull run, people when the desperacy ki banana hai, raise karna hai, kahin pahunchna hai, and now in the bear market they are kind of relaxed. Now they are thinking, right, that okay, X, Y, Z are the gaps that need to be filled in, and my jobs for the security part, which I personally feel is like has to be fixed from a UX perspective and from the technical perspective as well.
Yeah, I'd like to kind of take a step back and address something we were talking about a bit earlier. That what is the sort of UX that is required and is needed to onboard these people? And I like to give a very simple answer to this, that the UX has to be seedless, gasless, and chainless. So these are some of the blockchain specific complexities that a user does not ever encounter in the Web2 world. The Web2 paradigm they're already used to, right? They know what an app is, how it works. They know that, okay, I have to do email password login or something, username based login, maybe fingerprint login. All these things people are aware of. As long as you can translate all blockchain complexities into things that people already understand, and then of course you build for real world use cases, then you can onboard these people, right? You can have that adoption. So yeah, I think this is like very, very key. And also to address your previous question, like, is this sort of L1 plus L2 when scaling sort of model the correct one, or maybe we should have a different sort of architecture? I think when Ethereum came up and was trying to address the trilemma, I think for the design choices Ethereum has taken, it's clear that we need L2s and maybe even L3s and app chains, right? Can there have been different design choices, or can there be different design choices on a different chain today? Maybe, but I think the entire ecosystem is currently on Ethereum and is looking to support that sort of ecosystem. So that's the direction we will definitely be going in. Like there are going to be, and to address an even earlier question, I think there are going to be way more than 50 chains because there are going to be app chains. There's going to be individual games who are going to have their own chains. There's going to be, public listed companies which will have their own private
CBDCs
permission
having
chains.
their own chain, and
of course,
maybe Facebook's metaverse will run on its own chain. It does not have to be decentralized at all. Yeah.
So I definitely think there's going to be a lot more blockchains coming. Some of them for their own private compute, some of them for really being able to scale and offer cheaper services, etc. But yeah, the future is definitely in that sort of direction with a lot of players.
So you said seed free, gas free,
yeah, and chain free.
Chain free. So this reminds me. Last night we were having dinner, and I was like, "Chal, dessert khana hai, nahi khana hai." There's always a guilt factor, right? So we found ice cream, which was fat free, dairy free, and sugar free. Perfect. We had it also taste free. So by making all these gasless, seedless, etc., while we are making it easier to use, but I have difficulty believing that you can achieve something in life for nothing. So by abstracting it further and making it easier, please be the devil's advocate and tell me, what are we losing out on?
We're going to make things more expensive than they currently are. So gas costs will go up because you are essentially doing more computation to hide some of these things and make it easier, right? So that is going to happen. Other than that, there will be more dependencies on other parties. I won't call it centralization too much because there will still be other multiple parties involved, and you will have your own full custody in various solutions like account abstraction, but there will be more parties you're essentially dealing with, right? It's not just you and your beautiful little notebook with the seed phrase written on it that you keep in your locker or something. It's on cloud, this and that. So these are like the main trade-offs.
Yeah, so I'll take a bit of a step back, right?
There's a lot of step backs happening here. मैं समझ नहीं आ रहा है
थोड़ा सा तो यहाँ लेना पड़ रहा है. This multi-chain cross-chain is also very subjective to what we are also building, right? That develops the mindset. I mean, for example, Pranchu, he might have cracked some certain use case that supports the cross-chain thoughts for us and for Rick, for whoever, I mean the crowd as well. Whatever they are building, whatever they think is working out for them, and they are solving something for that narratives, that comparison, I think that's the best.
So I'll give you a very practical experience I had about 4 months ago, max 5. So one of the few prominent Indian private banks, I don't name them because the organizers have said that I need to be kind to company names. So to begin with, Ambani School, you said, right, Ambani School, very good. So please, all of your projects, very good. I have been told that I have to be a little kinder to projects. But, so a famous Indian private bank with not too many branches in the Middle East had rolled about 35,000 account holders in the MENA region. So very small by Indian standards. They decided to give NFTs, right? So 35,000 NFTs had to be minted only. And this was done on one of probably the most prominent L2 on Ethereum. It just choked up the network, just 35. So their agency who had done it had given them an SLA that this is what it will take. It took like multiples of that. Do you think that if we were to concentrate all of our compute and our dev effort and our decentralization direction on fewer chains, because you said it's going to be more than 50, while Pranshu is not as greedy as you, he's happy with 5, right? We would probably evolve this better as opposed to a lot of you do Rust, I do Solidity kind of thing, and we are reinventing the wheel. Do you think that is one of the problems the industry is facing?
I guess you need to find the way to solve the things. There is no right way. It's like explore and find out. The reason why I'm more optimistic in less than 5 chain, because I believe in the parachain concepts, like layer 0. If we have something called one network, and then we have parachains and parathreads, you can define your own different logic with all those consensus module and everything, but there is a single network, and all those chains or the network has been deployed as a parachains and parathreads, and all of them together are securing one single network. So I guess one thing is that will be more secure and decentralized. So it kind of solves the trilemma that we are solving. And but of course, the UX, of course, we need to think of in the other way. So that's one of the point, why I'm more optimistic on less than 5 chains.
Yeah. So when I say a lot more chains, I mean those are essentially L2s or L3s, app chains.
That's called special purpose chains.
Special purpose
chains,
right?
Absolutely.
So those will definitely be more in number. But in terms of shared security, I think a lot of us here are, maybe bit EVM focused as well. That is currently the most commonly used execution environment. And I would say that yes, in terms of developer communities itself and what sort of stuff they have to learn to be able to build. If tomorrow we have 5 new languages and 5 new execution environments, then that is a bit harmful for overall growth of the ecosystem.
On this special purpose chain thing, if some of you don't know what it is, very recently, maybe a month ago, I was talking to this team, European guys, I think Italians if I'm not mistaken, running what they told me was the world's largest multi-level marketing company. You know what MLMs are, right? Right, so MLMs have very rapidly adapted the blockchain and crypto, as in why even bother about bank accounts. So now these guys, of course the numbers they claim are ridiculous, so I'm not going to repeat them because even I find them unbelievable. But they have created their own L1, EVM compatible. They have created their own everything, as in all prop, and the only users are people in their MLM. So they are not even trying to get dApps built on it. There are no grants to be given. The wallet is their own. Everything is their own. So it is possible because of the nature of how chains work that probably not just the Indian government for its CBDC, but maybe even schools and colleges could be running their own chain-like structures and have your own where every student is running a node, etc. It actually can be done that way, and you never know. Just like radio station, there are international ones running off satellites, national ones. There could also be your locality-based radio station. So something like this could happen. So what I'm going to do is that as this time is soon going to start turning red, I realize that I did not give you all an opportunity to talk about your respective projects with the assumption that you have paid some sponsorship. If you have not, then you are not allowed to tell. I'm just kidding. So tell us what Push does, Solidity Scan does, and what Biconomy does. Start.
Hey everyone. So Push Protocol is basically like a Web3 communication layer. You might have been using a lot of things or exploring with the dApps, but one of the pain point is we often forget like how to receive notification or how to communicate. For example, my loan is about to get liquidated, right? Or your ENS name is expiring. Or maybe, Ajit is having a very cool NFT I need to buy, but I don't know him. But I always know his wallet address, right? So Web3 communication layer is something that Push Protocol provides, and that through that you can notify, chat, video call through wallet to wallet and everything. So in very simple words, let's communicate on the Web3 something that is provided by Push.
So notification or messaging, because notification is a type of message, I really wish should have been more native as opposed to requiring one more app just to get that. And it would have been good, but you guys love modularity in your space, so good work. I know Harsh as well as Richa pretty well. They used to live in the same building as me until recently. Go for it, Sankar.
Yeah, so we are building a self-auditing platform, Solidity Scan. We are also a hackathon title sponsor. That gives me a space to speak.
You can speak for 2 minutes.
I already had a 30-minute session yesterday, so this is fun. Anyways, it's a developer-first tool as well as a security layer, as I said in the panel as well. Anyone who's writing a smart contract while you're on the fly, they literally can do a vulnerability check at that time, and once that is done, you can go ahead and publish the audit report as well. So we kind of work on 3 single keywords: scan, fix, publish. That's it.
Okay, since I don't understand auditing or actually what goes into it, let me tell you what I heard about 6 months ago, that with the coming of GPT-4, which had not yet come at that point of time, that frankly all of this will go obsolete because you'll just give it to GPT-4 and it'll do the audit for you. To what extent? It has to be partially true. To what extent is this true?
Right. So it's a very healthy debate that we did internal in the company as well. Of course, AI is a thing, right? GPT 3.5, GPT 4, can do a auditing part, but we have to also understand that all the patterns that it detects, it is already available on the web, right? But in kind of our project, Cred Shields is the parent company where we are doing an auditing of the good projects in the market, and we kind of figure out the patterns that are coming up repeatedly, right? And we pick up those specific patterns and then we infuse in the platform to make it more mature. Right now we are at 130 vulnerability patterns strong, which is right now kind of at a very high maturity level.
See, this is where the moment you say pattern, it looks like AI should do the job, as in that's my natural instinctive thinking. So where is this headed? Will audit firms go obsolete very soon?
Oh no, I'm not cutting off anything, right? But I'm just trying to enter into developer shoes, right? Everyone knows, right? Auditing from a Web2 standpoint, बहुत ही एक niche सा topic रहा है हमेशा से, right? कुछ एक set of segment है जिनको आता है, but then 2015 when Accunetics comes in Web2, right? They sort of give some the automations leverage to the people and to the companies, to the startups who literally cannot afford the data security pen testers at that particular given point of time. Same for us, right? We are equipping those developers. Of course, manual check is required. Even we do the manual checks, but what will happen in the 75% of the user journey? It's still empty. So that is the kind of a gap that we are filling up.
Got it. Pretty much like Push had their own token, which for the longest time was called EPNS, then got Push. Biconomy also has a wildly successful token, pretty much like you guys at EPNS Push. Tell us, what does Biconomy do?
We are getting airdrops, yeah?
Yeah, we're all getting airdrops. Are we getting Biconomy airdrops?
Of course.
That was 2 years ago.
No, then you don't get to answer this question. I'm just kidding. Tell us what Biconomy does.
Thanks. So Biconomy is an infrastructure company as well. Our focus for the last 1 year or so has been on account abstraction, which we've talked about a bit today, and I also talked about yesterday for a long 40 minutes. But Account abstraction, I think most of you might have heard a fair bit about it, but it's essentially a way to simplify the Web3 user experience, right? By giving this infrastructure that sits at the wallet and the transaction layer that you can use and have this kind of seedless, gasless, chainless experience, right? So that's kind of what we're doing. We've been around for 4 years. Our previous product's called Gasless. We were solving for one of those 3 points back then, but now it's like much more holistic. With Gasless, we've been working with many of the biggest projects in the space, onboarded over 4 million users onto Web3 for the first time as well. And yeah, now kind of fully focused on giving this full stack account abstraction solution.
Excellent. I can see 2 kids, I don't know, those who are in the center, there are 2 kids right here. That reminded me, a lot of people ask me that why is this, Ajit, the only Indian conference that you come to, right? So I said because in all the other conferences I go to, I meet the people from the last bull market. In this conference, I meet the people of the next bull market. But looking at these 2 kids, I must tell you like 2030 ke bull market ke wale log mil rahe hain. But yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to take exactly 2 questions, assuming there are 2. So if anybody has any question in and around the topics that we have talked about, now is a good time. Raise your hand and somebody will run to you with a microphone. Does anybody have any question? You guys were perfect apparently. You guys were like absolutely
Or we were
perfect.
boring.
Yeah, no. See, if you were boring, they would be looking at their phones. They are not, and they're sitting semi-darkness. They've had a meal. They should be asleep right now, which they are not. So thank you very much. I hope you learned something from this panel. Thank you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.